Another new track for Afterlife, which is quickly becoming, in my opinion, another great Five Finger Death Punch album. I mean, it's certainly great on first listens, but since, I gave my reactions to the first two tracks that were released, the first two singles, Afterlife, I guess the title track of the album, and IOU, I really appreciate those tracks even more than even when I mention them. I mean, they're both good, but Afterlife especially has just become a quick favorite of my playlist aside from many of their other tracks off their hit albums of the past. I really love Five Finger Death Punch. I've been a fan since I really started listening to them. They're a very talented metal group. A lot of respect as well for many of the songs and their themes and just the overall talent this group produces. I really come to love them. And I'm so excited to look at new music. Even though this one might be, it might have a bit of a fun twist to it. We'll see. I'm sure it'll have a bit of an energy. I don't know. I get an impression based on the way the lyrics read. But for those of you who, are new to my channel, perhaps, welcome. I don't tend to cover music that often, particularly because I just haven't in the past. I tend to cover a pretty extensive multitude of entertainment ventures, largely within the visual space. Music, for me, though, is something I've always wanted to cover. I didn't necessarily earlier days, just because I didn't find the best avenue to jump into that, but at the time. But ever since, I started covering groups like Starset, I've found an entranceway. And it's been important for me because, music in my life has been, as fun as those other entertainment forms are, and as great agents of creative expression, artistry as they can be, or have the potential to be, music for me has been a first love. It's been closer to me than perhaps many of the relationships in my life of people that I know personally. Not everybody. I have some close relationships, even though I do maintain a very small social circle, admittedly, for a variety of reasons, and not necessarily ones of my own volition. Music for me has been such a dominant influence in my life, and I've really wanted to communicate that love and passion through my work on here. And to talk about good bands out there, talented groups, talented pieces of art and music. And it's, again, with time, I've really had to work on it, but I found a general place where a lot of my favorites, and my favorites in terms of groups. My favorite pieces of music, I'll come later. I'll make mention of where I'm seeing that going in the future. But in this channel, I found an opportunity to feature new tunes and new tracks, perhaps from well-established groups or up and coming. And I love being able to showcase groups as talented as Five Finger Death Punch. I really love them. The first two tracks on this new album, great. Really fit the style of them. I did feel, as I stated with IOU, it was a bit softer in terms of maybe some of the other work by comparisons. I mean, it was still pretty harsh. It fits with the Five Finger Death Punch style. But I read the lyrics for this, and I feel like, okay, we're kind of kicking back into gear. We'll see how the song delivers, and if my suspicion is correct. But without further ado, welcome to the circus. Again, I kind of like the name. It also gives me a vibe based on, other songs I listen to from different groups. I don't know why, but maybe just because of a circus analogy, but Skillet comes to mind. Circus for a Psycho. That was a track that they released years ago on one of their older albums. That one had a fun energy to it and the pacing of the song. But even the lyrics, too, had a bit of a fun direction. This one, I've lightly perused the lyrics, and it's still kind of got it's a pretty bold song, but we'll see what I think, as pairing it with the tune. All right, here we go. I'm going to cue this up. And, of course, I'm showcasing you the lyric video so you can read along with the lyrics as well as what I'll be doing, too. Because, again, I've just lightly perused it. Bit of a digital opening. Okay, now I feel like I'm in a horror movie. Or some sort of game like, oh, clowns! Nice. It's like a universal parody.
Welcome to the circus.
Ah, nice. This is like a lyric/music video. Just a fun animation.
Welcome to the circus. Just another freak show. Hang your hat and hate at the door. It's a game of torture.
This is what I've wanted, like really the harsh stuff.
You wanted it more.
The last couple tracks have been good, but this is like perfect.
Somebody, everybody's got a reason to bleed. You've got to know somebody to know somebody. That motherfucker.
I do prefer cleaner music, but I'm like, okay, I'll forgive you on it, because I just love listening to this band, and his voice is lovely. We're all a little crazy in truth. Oh, that's great. Just carry the energy all the way for it. You have a great hit.
For broken bones, that's what happens when you sign on the line. There's no need for excuses. Everybody loses. Only way you'll ever win is to die. You've gotta burn somebody to learn somebody. Everybody's got a Jekyll and
Hey, name drop it was the previous works. No, they're working. Hey, we got a reference to some of our past stuff here in your listener. There's a track that signals in your head. Hey, I remember that name. There's still one signaled it. Top favorite so far on this album. Afterlife's good, but this one, thorough. Here we go, we get into a riff. Ooh, I just scream, I'm fine with that. Oh, that's great. I like the techno direction of his singing, that's excellent.
Ticky tasket, time to burn the casket, time to burn this motherfucker.
Oh, it's so good. And you end on a beautiful high note. Yeah, like I said, the opening and the closure, you feel like you really are in a circus, don't you? Like a horror movie. I mean, clowns are in. I don't know. Maybe just the circus scenery. Again, I cover film on this channel primarily, and at least in the last couple years when it comes to horror films or films within that maybe just have a horror tone to them, there's been a mainstay for carnivals, circuses, clowns especially. I mean, there's been a real clown trend, especially over like 2018, 2019, a lot of clown movies. So clowns are in. Well, they've always been in terms of a scare. And it fits you with the more ominous nature of the track, I think. Even though, again, there's a lesson to be learned. I think there's a lot of themes. I, at the very least, listening to the song, feel the idea of being like an outsider. Right, as I'm sure many rock fans can relate. I mean, it used to be I think people fit in better now because of how popular mainstream groups like Five Finger Death Punch have become. I mean, they are like a big name in the metal scene. There's so many different groups along the scene that have penetrated people's lives in a positive direction, and people finally have that sense of commonality. So when I read the song and he's like, am I the only one that doesn't buy into the lies, doesn't wear a disguise? I mean, maybe you could be looking at this too from, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I get that feeling of somebody looking at from just what he's seen, he or she, I guess you could interpret it either way, from the vantage point of feeling like an outsider, feeling like they don't completely fit in, even though being an outsider means that they're in a healthier disposition. I mean, like, doesn't buy into the lies, or a sense that other people maybe in general surroundings are so engaged with the showmanship around them that they don't necessarily recognize reality. This has a really funny delivery, by the way. Yes, you have to laugh. Ticky tasket, time to burn the casket. It's like, I don't know, creative writing. I love these guys. They're so talented. I mean, I wonder if maybe there's a theme of relevance here, too. Maybe just the way society has gone. I mean, Five Finger Death Punch has written, in the past, I've also mentioned as much, this is how I came through them. My first track actually, entering consideration of listening to them was Wrong Side of Heaven, which is still such a beautiful song from its writing and the music video in particular. If you're new to Five Finger Death Punch and this is the first entrance for you, I would recommend that track in terms of your interest in referencing some of their past work. But when it comes to their writing, they haven't shied away from talking about, general society and just the state of people overall. Because again, I think that produces a feeling of relatability. Their video off their last album, I was really surprised because I thought the song from just again an audio perspective kind of came across as fitting with certain social trends, but I felt like it was kind of just like a baseline life lesson. And as we were watching the video, if you're me, you're kind of left with the impression of, well, someone's not afraid to, address things. It's like someone's got balls. Anyway, as most of us should probably have these days. Well, at least the guys. Anyway, metaphorically for the women. Anyway, moving on. This is very well written. It's fun. I like the energy. It's a bit of a playful, again, style of writing in regard to the storyline, and pairing that with an excellently animated video, which, again, has a bit of a comedic vibe, even amidst this very brash, familiar sound to what Five Finger Death Punch has done. But I've wanted harder. I've really wanted harder for the last couple tracks. Thinking Afterlife and IOU were great, and they had that edge as well, but it's familiar with Five Finger Death Punch, but I still had that feeling like maybe a little more aggressive, because I in fact, bringing this up, in the past couple weeks since I listened to the tracks, I was outside working. I was actually weeding for 10 hours straight one day. And, I had my phone on, and I'm listening to just a bunch of the tunes. I have my playlist, a general mix. I'm like, hey, I got enough Five Finger Death Punch tracks. It'll probably last about like an hour or two. And those tracks came back up. I'm like, man, this is strong. But amidst, again, the ever hits that I have featured in my playlist, there's a lot of heavy hitters. And I felt, as far as what this album has unveiled for now, that there was still an edge that was kind of, off of where the band could go, to make it feel like, this is truly like the Five Finger Death Punch gritty experience. And I feel that this track wildly succeeds. I love it. It's familiar Five Finger Death Punch, but it is so strong in the delivery and the execution. Beautiful listen, and I think my favorite of the album thus far. I think the other two tracks I said are great, but Welcome to the Circus, like a real heavy hitter. And I just love it. It's fun. I'm going to be listening to this probably a bunch of times, even maybe tonight. It's a great hit. I'm excited for the future of the album. It's coming across very promising. I forget when the release date is. But for the singles, and we've done 3 so far. Maybe, well, how many did they have for the last album? I don't remember exactly. I didn't pay as concrete of attention. But this album is shaping up really well. So maybe they do release some future singles. Of course, I'll cover them, but I'm really happy with what's been produced here. This is a great song and a real testament, again, I think, FFDP's strengths. But what are your guys' thoughts? Maybe, again, like I said, this is a first impression for you with Five Finger Death Punch, and this is your first entrance. I really like this group. I mean, again, like I said, I would prefer cleaner, admittedly, and I take certain measures, of course, my channel, as you just witnessed, to keep my content palatable for general audiences. But even I have to laugh sometimes. Again, the energy of the way this is written, especially that tiki tasket line, that was hilarious. I don't know, did anybody else feel that impression? But it's perfect. But again, for those of you, this is a first impression. What are your thoughts? And, would you consider having listened to this track, going further and listening to, more Five Finger Death Punch? And for those of you perhaps longtime fans, maybe even longer than I've been, how do you feel this ranks in terms of your your expectations for the new album coming out? And where do you think this fits among the singles we've had thus far in ranking? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And as I've stated, previously as well, I've made mention of this in my music videos. I will be releasing another channel pretty soon within the new year. I'm working in preparation for it. I mean, I'm going to continue to cover music on this channel. That's not going away. In fact, the 2 channels I've got in the works, or the 1 channel I've got in the works, but pairing it with this one, they're integrated. This is based on first impression listens. But Symphonies and Small Talk, which I'm hoping to again debut at the start of January 2023, is going to be able to talk about music that I'm familiar with, but tunes that have made a real impression, or bands and artists that have really left an impact on my life, whether that just be, again, from their creative talent or from the messages they have to share, or the stories they carry with them through their artistic expression. Five Finger Death Punch, I've got a couple tracks in mind that it's a growing list. I mean, it's pretty long and extensive at this point, so it gives me plenty of stuff to cover and plenty of conversations to be had on, all sorts of different topics. But Five Finger Death Punch, I'm pretty sure will make an appearance. I don't know how many. I'm still kind of working. Well, actually, I've got a couple tracks in mind specifically now that I think about it. You'll be seeing them on the channel, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how many times yet, but maybe pretty frequently. But I really like what I'm seeing here for a track. So if you're interested, again, keep your eyes peeled for whenever that channel debuts. And as I stated, the questions I've probed to, whatever standpoint you come from, whether you're a longtime fan or if this is a first entrance, feel free to tell me your general impressions down below, what you think of Welcome to the Circus. But I think this is the best track thus far in the album. I think we're setting up for another high gear Five Finger Death Punch release. And again, I liked the last album we had especially. That was really good. And the first two tracks, again, were excellent. But this heavy hitter, this is what I wanted in regard to the energy, and it is just perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.